Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and US signed terms of reference for the first phase of a bilateral trade deal. In-person negotiations to be held in May, deal expected by year-end. A bomb attack targeting a police truck in Balochistan kills 3 police officers, injuring 18 others. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says Iran-US talks going well but may lead nowhere. Tehran and Washington are due to meet again in Muscat on Saturday. And multiple French prisons attacked overnight in response to government efforts to clamp down on drug trafficking. India and the United States have signed the terms of reference for its first part of a bilateral trade deal. Both sides agreed in February to work on the first phase of a trade deal that will be concluded late this year with a view to reaching bilateral trade worth $500 billion by 2030. The two countries will start virtual discussions on the deal this month, with the next round of in-person talks scheduled for mid-May. India's overall exports showed steady growth in March 2025, with both exports and imports registering year-on-year increases. The total export, which combines merchandise and services, has increased $73.61 billion in March this year, up from $71.71 billion in March last year. The growth reflects continued resilience in key sectors of the economy. The data shows a sharper increase on the import front, with overall imports climbing to $77.23 billion from $73.63 billion a year ago. The US is turning up the heat in its trade war, this time targeting two of the world's most crucial sectors, pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. President Trump is pushing forward with plans to slap new tariffs on imported medicine and chips, calling foreign dependence on them a national security risk.
Donald Trump's tariff saga refuses to cease. The rollercoaster ride has already got the global markets facing headwinds. Now the national security probes have been initiated on 2 products, pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. The probes are a precursor for imposing tariffs on chips and drugs. Trump says he expects to impose tariffs on imported pharmaceuticals in the not-too-distant future.
We don't make our own drugs, our own pharmaceuticals. We don't make our own drugs anymore. The drug companies are in Ireland and they're in lots of other places, China. And all I have to do is impose a tariff. The more, the faster they move in. The higher the tariff, it's very simple. It's inversely proportional. The higher the tariff, the faster they come.
The Commerce Department has launched formal probes into both sectors. Commerce Secretary insists the move will bring manufacturing back home.
We need to have semiconductors, we need to have chips, and we need to have flat panels. We need to have these things made in America. We can't be reliant on Southeast Asia for all of the things that operate for us. So what he's doing is he's saying they're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon. You shouldn't think this is really outside of it. Really think of it as being included in the semiconductor space, much like pharmaceuticals.
But the move is already raising red flags. Drug makers warn it could lead to shortages and make medicines more expensive. Chip makers say that tariffs could disrupt production just as the world is racing to meet the tech demand. Markets had a mixed reaction to the development. Wall Street saw a modest rebound, with investors clinging to hopes that exemptions for some tech goods like smartphones and computers might soften the blow. But Trump has signaled those exemptions won't last forever. Meanwhile, efforts to strike trade deals with many partners are also gathering pace. Treasury Secretary Stock Bessent has hinted momentum in talks with individual countries on reaching trade deals but offered little details. Talks have begun with Vietnam and were to start with Japan on Wednesday, then South Korea next week. These nations, on their part, have started their own efforts to counter the effects. The timeline or chances of any deal with China remains a question mark. Meanwhile, Taiwan's economy minister said on Tuesday that the island will simulate the impact of any US tariffs on the semiconductor industry. South Korea, which is home to chip giants like Samsung, announced an emergency $4.9 billion boost for its semiconductor industry to counter the fallout. South Korea's finance minister also said on Tuesday that Seoul will try to delay reciprocal tariffs as much as possible by negotiations with the United States. Back in America, a legal advocacy group on Monday asked the US Court of International Trade to block Trump's sweeping tariffs on foreign trading partners, arguing the president overstepped his authority. The lawsuit asks the court to block enforcement of the tariffs and declare Trump lacked the authority to impose them. The New York based Court of International Trade is a US federal court with broad jurisdiction over most trade related matters. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, China's President Xi Jinping urged Vietnam to join forces in upholding free trade before wrapping up a visit to Hanoi on Tuesday, which President Donald Trump said was aiming to, quote, screw the United States. Xi visited Vietnam as part of a Southeast Asia tour that will include Malaysia and Cambodia, with Beijing trying to position itself as a stable alternative to Trump as leaders confront US tariffs. The Chinese leader called on his country and Vietnam on Monday to oppose unilateral bullying and uphold the stability of the global free trade system, according to Beijing's state media. Hours later, Trump told reporters at the White House that their talks were aimed at hurting the United States of America. China and Vietnam signed 45 cooperation agreements on Monday, including on supply chains, artificial intelligence, joint maritime patrols and railway development. Xi said at a meeting with Vietnam's top leader Tho Lam on Monday that their countries were standing at the turning point of history and should move forward with joined hands. Lam said after the talks that the two leaders reached many important and comprehensive common perceptions. Now, China has ordered its airlines not to take any further deliveries of Boeing jets on Tuesday. Beijing has also asked that Chinese carriers halt purchases of aircraft-related equipment and parts from US companies. This comes in response to the US decision to impose 145% tariffs on Chinese goods. Meanwhile, this move is expected to raise maintenance costs for the jets flying in the country. The US and China have been embroiled in a tariff war triggered by US President Donald Trump's trade policies. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has expressed satisfaction with the recent high-level talks with the United States, but has said that he remains skeptical of Washington's intentions. Tehran and Washington are set to meet again this Saturday in Muscat, following last week's highest-level dialogue since the collapse of the 2015 nuclear deal. The renewed talks come as US President Donald Trump, now in his second term, has reinstated his maximum pressure sanctions campaign against Iran, reviving the tough stance he first took after pulling out of the accord during his previous term.
Entering negotiations is a decision and a move that has been made and is being implemented, and it has been well carried out in the first steps. Also, from now on, it must be followed carefully. The red lines are clear for us and the other side. The negotiations may or may not reach a conclusion.
Now, Israeli military carried out an airstrike on Tuesday near the southern Lebanese village of Aytaroon, targeting a Hezbollah commander. In an official statement, the IDF announced earlier today that it struck and eliminated a platoon commander in Hezbollah's Special Operations Array in the area of Aytaroon in southern Lebanon. This strike occurs despite the ceasefire agreement established with Hezbollah in November 2024. Earlier, Israel confirmed that it had eliminated the head of a Hamas Nukba force terror cell, Hamza Wael Mohammed Asafa, in Hamas's Deir al-Bala battalion 2 weeks ago. Israel Defense Forces said that Asafa participated in the October 7th attack, as well as at a hostage release ceremony in February. Now, a senior Hamas official has indicated that the group will likely respond to a new Israeli ceasefire proposal within 48 hours. The proposal, presented through mediators, Egypt and Qatar, offers a 45-day ceasefire in exchange for the release of half of the remaining hostages held in Gaza and the entry of aid. Israel has also demanded disarmament of Hamas and all Palestinian armed factions in the Gaza Strip as a condition for a permanent end to the conflict. Earlier, Hamas informed the mediators that it was willing to agree to any proposal that includes a permanent ceasefire, a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, and the entry of aid. However, the group rejected any clauses that would see it forced to disarm, calling it a red line and non-negotiable. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told French President Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday that the establishment of a Palestinian state would be a huge reward for terrorism. A statement released by Netanyahu's office said that the two leaders spoke via phone, and the Israeli Prime Minister expressed to the French leader his strong opposition to the establishment of a Palestinian state, saying that it would be a huge reward for terrorism. On his part, French President Emmanuel Macron called for an end to the war in Gaza and said that the ordeal of Gaza civilians must end. Several prisons across France were attacked overnight amid the government's crackdown on drug trafficking. Cars were set on fire outside at least 4 prisons, and one prison in the southern city of Toulon was hit with automatic gunfire. One of the worst hit sites was the Villepinte prison near Paris, where 3 cars were burnt. 2 of the vehicles belonged to prison staff, and CCTV footage showed 2 people lighting the fires. In Toulon, 50 bullet holes were found on the prison gate. In addition to the prison attacks, the National School of Prison Administration was also targeted. The National Anti-Terrorism Prosecutor's Office is now leading the investigation with help from France's domestic intelligence agency. Authorities are still trying to find out who is behind these attacks. On to the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that it was not easy to agree with the United States on the key parts of a possible peace deal to end the war in Ukraine, and that Russia would never again allow itself to depend economically on the West. US President Donald Trump, who says he wants to be remembered as a peacemaker, has repeatedly said that he wants to end the bloodbath of the 3-year-old conflict in Ukraine, though a deal has yet to be agreed upon. The Kremlin on Sunday said that it was too early to expect results from the restoration of more normal relations with Washington. Lavrov said that Russia's position had been set out clearly by President Vladimir Putin in June 2024, when Putin demanded Ukraine must officially drop its NATO ambitions and withdraw its troops from the entirety of the territory of 4 Ukrainian regions claimed by Russia now. Earlier, US President Donald Trump once again blamed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for the conflict and accused him of responsibility for millions of deaths caused by the war. During a meeting in the Oval Office with the president of El Salvador, Trump placed the blame of the Russia-Ukraine conflict not just on Russian President Vladimir Putin, but also on former US President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky himself.
That's a war that should have never been allowed to start, and Biden could have stopped it, and Zelensky could have stopped it, and Putin should have never started it. Everybody's to blame. Looking to purchase missiles, you know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size, and then hope that people give you some missiles. All I can do is try and stop it. That's all I want to do. I want to stop the killing, and I think we're doing well in that regard. I think you'll have some very good proposals very soon.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces have hit Russia's Kursk region with dozens of drones, killing an elderly woman and injuring 9 people. The Russian Defense Ministry said that 109 drones were downed over the Kursk region overnight. A multi-story apartment building was damaged in result of the drone attack, with several flats catching fire Authorities had issued a missile and drone attack alert and asked residents to move away from windows. The assault came as residents of the Ukrainian city of Sumy grieved the victims of one of the deadliest Russian attacks of the war. Back in Asia, at least 3 police personnel were killed and 18 others injured in a remote-controlled bomb attack targeting a police truck in Pakistan's Balochistan province. The blast happened in the Mastung district. The truck was travelling from Kalat to Quetta. The Restive province has been prone to attacks earlier. Last month, a train was hijacked by the Balochistan Liberation Army. You're with us on DD India Live. Still to come on the show. Singapore to hold elections on May the 3rd amid cost of living and trade concerns. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg disputes US antitrust case in trial testimony. And India expected to experience above average monsoon this year, says India's Met Department.
This week on Defense Dynamic, India and the United States wrap up Exercise Tiger Trump 2025 on India's east coast. India successfully tests its long-range glide bomb Gaurav. Can this homegrown weapon redefine precision strike capability and send a strong message across the border? What are direct energy weapons? Why, after successful trial of DRDO's DEW, India is now in the exclusive club? And inside the Indian Air Forces, how the Wolf Pack strategy is transforming aerial warfare, coordination and lethal intent. Tune in this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Singapore's President Tharman Shanmugaratnam dissolved the country's parliament on Tuesday. The Election Commission announced that it will hold the next general election on May the 3rd, for which nominations will be filed on April 23rd. The vote will be the first electoral test for Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, who succeeded long-time Premier Lee Hsien Loong as leader of the People's Action Party, PAP, in May 2024. The ruling PAP is almost certain to dominate and win more seats, as it has in every vote since independence in 1965. Meta platform CEO Mark Zuckerberg took the stand on Monday at a high-stakes trial in Washington over US antitrust enforcers' claims that the company spent billions of dollars to acquire Instagram and WhatsApp to fend off Facebook competitors. The looming antitrust trial will be the first big test of President Donald Trump's Federal Trade Commission's ability to challenge big tech. Zuckerberg responded to questions while seeking to combat allegations Meta bought the companies a decade ago to eliminate competition among social media platforms where users connect with friends and family. The FTC has pointed to emails in which Zuckerberg proposed acquiring photo-sharing app Instagram as a way to neutralize a potential Facebook competitor and expressed worry that encrypted messaging service WhatsApp could grow into a social network. The trial could stretch into July. If the FTC wins, it would have to separately prove that measures such as forcing Meta to sell Instagram or WhatsApp would restore competition. Meanwhile, Japanese authorities on Tuesday said that they had issued a cease and desist order to US tech titan Google over an alleged violation of national antitrust laws. It is the first time the country has issued such an order to global technology giants such as that of Google, Japanese media reported, and follows similar moves in Europe and the United States. Japan's Fair Trade Commission said that the problem is related to the implementation of search functions for Android smartphones in violation of the antitrust law. The Trade Commission accuses Google of imposing binding conditions on Android smartphones manufacturers in Japan since at least July 2020. Specifically, it says Google made sure its online app store, Google Play, would be installed as part of a package with its web browser search app, Chrome. Moving on, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Denmark Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen reaffirmed their commitment to robust green strategic partnership between the two countries. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi tweeted, and I quote, Glad to speak with Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen today, reaffirmed our strong support for the India-Denmark Green Strategic Partnership and enhancing cooperation across sectors for the benefit of our people. We also discussed regional and global developments of mutual interest, unquote. The India Meteorological Department IMD on Tuesday forecasted above normal rainfall for the upcoming southwest monsoon season from June to September in 2025. India is expected to experience above average monsoon rains this year at 105% of the long period average. The IMD defines rainfall in the range of 105 to 110% of the LPA as above average. Meanwhile, the key climatic factors such as El Nino and Indian Ocean dipole are expected to remain neutral, creating a favorable environment for a strong monsoon this year.
This year, southwest monsoon seasonal rainfall from June to September over the country as a whole for this during this year is most likely to be above normal category. You know that above normal category is more than 104% of the long period average of the rainfall. Long period average rainfall is 87 centimeter. So this year, quantitatively, the seasonal rainfall over the country as a whole is likely to be 105% of long period average. Of course, with the model error of plus or minus 5%. This model error will go in the later stage, it will be less and less error as the progress. This year, the El Nino condition is neutral, and also the IOD condition at present over the Indian Ocean, and maybe whatever the climate model is telling also it is a neutral IOD. So both the things are neutral.
Now, a Dhaka court has issued arrest warrants against 29 individuals, including ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her son Sajib Wazed Joy, in connection with two high-profile corruption cases. The cases filed by the Anti-Corruption Commission allege irregularities in plot allocations under the Purbachal New Town project led by Rajdhani Unayan Kartripakha Rajuk. The court has set April 28th as the deadline for authorities to report on arrests. In one case, Hasina and 11 others, mainly officials from the Housing Ministry and Rajuk, are accused of abusing power to obtain a prime diplomatic zone plot. The second case names 17 individuals, including Hasina and her son, for allegedly influencing public officials to bypass legal procedures in securing the plots. Innovate to Educate challenge as part of a Create in India Challenge Season 1 under the World Audiovisual and Entertainment Waves Summit is revolutionizing creative learning and paving new ways for innovators, designers and engineers to showcase their talent. Well, DD India's Siddharth Bhardwaj has more.
Imagine a handheld device which becomes your learning companion throughout the day. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Innovate to Educate Challenge, which is a part of Create in India Season 1 under Waves, is providing a unique opportunity to innovators, designers and engineers to showcase their talent and unleash their potential.
Designed to revolutionize how children learn, the Innovate to Educate Challenge opens doors for academia, technologists, designers and changemakers to showcase their creativity and reshape the learning experience. The challenge falls under 4 core pillars of Waves: broadcasting and infotainment, AVGC XR, which is animation, visual effects, gaming and comics, extended reality, digital media and innovation, and films.
So in this challenge, the participants have to create a handheld video game device using microcontrollers like Arduino, Raspberry Pi and the electronic integrated circuits. So this challenge requires an understanding of mathematics, physics for creating the game, and also understanding of the electronics and the modeling of the electronic components. So this challenge, the final product of this challenge is a video game device that does not have a mobile type of the screen or a hardware.
The challenge drew an overwhelming 1,856 registrations, and after a rigorous evaluation process by an esteemed jury of industry leaders, educators and tech experts, the top 10 finalists have now been selected.
We are eagerly waiting to be a part of Waves. because it's an amazing opportunity to connect with like-minded people. And
when we heard about the Innovate to Educate Challenge, we thought this is the perfect platform to showcase our skills and projects to gain knowledge. This challenge has truly pushed us to think beyond the usual. It helps us to solve real-world problems through design thinking and innovation.
Basically, we are building smart learning tablet for kids. It's an interactive and portable educational device designed to make learning and engaging through the touchscreen based puzzles, games and voice-assisted lessons.
Our idea is a simple, low-cost, handheld learning device for kids aged 6 to 8. It helps them improve basic maths, memory and problem solving through fun and various interactive games.
Organized by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the event is in collaboration with the Indian Digital Gaming Society. Hack2Skill is on board as the innovation partner and ICT Academy as the skilling partner. The top 10 teams will showcase their breakthrough ideas during a special event at Waves 2025 in Mumbai. The winners will be honored at the grand finale by the ministry, a true celebration of innovation made in India.
Now, India's brightest game development talent is stepping into the spotlight. The top 10 games from the inaugural Road to Game Jam have been announced, part of the Create in India Challenge Season 1 under the Government of India's World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit, or WAVES, with over 5,500 registrations from 1,650 colleges across 453 cities. This nationwide initiative has unearthed some of the most innovative and original gaming ideas in the country. Organized by the Game Developer Association of India in collaboration with KGen, the Road to Game Jam falls under the second pillar of WAVES, focused on AVGC XR, animation, visual effects, gaming, comics and extended reality. After intense competition, the top 10 games will be showcased live at the WAVES Summit in Mumbai from May 1st to 4th, 2025. So that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. So we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for being with us. Namaskar.